Hello, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here early, all the comments and everything. I gotta start this off by really saying the truth. Like, I don't even know if Indiana really deserves to be in. I mean, I was watching the Crimson Cast with Galen earlier, and he had Indiana out. And I mean, I'm just gonna tell you from being at the Oregon game, uh, I just saw no fight out of that team. I mean, they started out a little bit hot, and it's just over and over again, you see this team just not give you anything to root for. But I got the bracket show on right here. So we got Auburn, Louisville gets an 8 seed, Creighton at 9 here. Michigan gets a 5 seed. I thought maybe Michigan would be maybe a 4, but them winning that late, I mean, Michigan's a dangerous team as a 5 seed, that's for sure. And look, this right here. Barry, you are absolutely right. I mean, I guess we should have booed Mike Woodson more, or they should have chanted "Fire Mike Woodson" or made it a lot worse of a situation, and we would have Dusty May as our coach. But I'm gonna be making a video tomorrow. The comments that Umar Balo made after the game, I definitely have to highlight that because to me, the stuff that he said, it really epitomizes the reason why Indiana. What do you guys think? Do you want Indiana to be in? Do you want them to be out? It's really hard to tell. I'll tell you this. I was in the lobby of the Sheridan the morning after the IU game on Friday morning, and like I was just talking with some guys about Indiana's game and stuff like that, and like an 85-year-old woman came walking by who's probably watched basketball for 70 years, and she was just like, and they're walking the ball up the court. And I'm gonna tell you that just is what it is. It's like, I mean, Miles Rice, he's just like on like a leisurely jog. A lot of the players, they just are on like a leisurely jog. So if they don't get in, they don't really deserve it. And we'll see. They just went to a commercial here, but I don't know if they get in, they're probably gonna be in Dayton, is what I'm thinking. And But I see one of the big problems, I think, is Indiana's record. It just all matters how this committee, how they want to value this stuff. They turn this down a couple notches because, man, I got some other points I want to like. I was thinking about this today. How how much like our football team just played balls to the wall throughout the football season, and how much when they were choosing that selection for the 12 teams and everything, just how badly you wanted it for the football team. And I mean, this basketball team, you just don't want it for them because you don't see the want to like out of these guys. You just see excuses, excuses. And yeah, maybe they played a little bit more inspired down the stretch, but it honestly was just a little too late with giving the effort. I mean, it's boy, when you look back at them beating Tennessee in that preseason game, and then you think, I mean, from that, they beat them 66-62 in that preseason game. And that really made you think. And then the South Carolina game made you think, boy, this team, I mean, they really should have won about 14 games in the Big Ten if they just would have played with more heart, more effort out there. And Brian says, I don't see us making the tournament after the game in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, I agree. Um, I don't know how much the committee puts into this. I heard one interesting opinion, like, somebody was saying, well, if this was Notre Dame in football, they'd say, oh, if it came down to between this team and this team, with Notre Dame, they're definitely put Notre Dame in the football thing. But I don't know if basketball really works that way. I mean, it does. Like Indiana's got some brand there still, and we still got a ton of fans. I'm going to tell you, shout out to all the fans that were out there at Gamebridge on Thursday because the fans did their part. I mean, everybody was up, everybody was clapping, everybody was like into the game big time, and it just was like it was not there. And you know, I feel like I'm a reasonable person. Like I know basketball, it goes in ebbs and flows. Like you're not always gonna be hot, and you're not always gonna be not. But this team just showed not a lot of effort throughout the season. All right, here we go. We got another have another part of the bracket coming up here. Duke's the number 1 seed on this east side. Either way, as an Indiana fan, I always pick the teams that are like my favorite teams. That I mean, Wisconsin and Michigan are 2 teams, and they fought that game out. That was a gritty performance by both of those teams. It was really unfortunate that one of those teams had to lose one of those game that game because boy, like you see when you watch those teams, you're going, wow, like the heart and soul, um, everything with those teams and dusty banners. Yeah, the fans always show up. It's time the players start showing up. That's why, and I'm gonna say I am not gung ho on Brownell as the coach from Clemson. I mean, I everyone knows I want Dusty or not. I want Chris Beard, but I think we could do better than that. I think he'll be way more successful at Indiana than Archie Miller or Mike Woodson. I really do. I don't know a ton about this guy. I did watch Clemson a lot in the tournament last year and thought they had some really gritty players, but Oregon, Liberty got a 12 seed there playing Oregon. That'll be interesting. I'll tell you, I did not know a lot about Oregon until they beat us 2 times at the end of the year. And I'll tell you what, that coach at Oregon, he is damn good. And he is like a force to be reckoned with. He gets his team playing really good basketball in the month of March. He has more wins in the month of March than anybody going back to, I think, 2012, which all right. Well, they're doing the a Thursday game here. BYU and VCU got in. I think what it is for Indiana that's going to stop them is the 19-13 record. I think you get to 20 wins. Some of these other teams are more like 24 and 6 of the ones I was looking at. And oh no, that's not a third. That was a 6-11. BYU and VCU 6-11. Wisconsin playing Montana. Joe Montana was a quarterback. I do have a newfound respect for the St. Mary's coach. He was on the radio with Jake Query the other day, and guy grew up a huge Indiana fan, but has done a great job out there at St. Mary's and had a lot of great things to say about Indiana being a top-notch job and everything like that. But who are you guys picking it to win it all? I'll tell you, that Florida team, I love watching them play. I mean, they have got some big guys that rotate into the game, and if his name is Colston, I think he can be an unbelievable player. Alabama playing Robert Morris. That's going to be an interesting game. Oregon Liberty that they're talking about right here. But I'll tell you, there's never been a time there's been a selection show where I can really remember like Indiana being this much kind of like on the bubble, not knowing like what's gonna happen, and just kind of having these like swirling thoughts like they are not in. The Mike Woodson picture is coming down immediately. We'll not have to look at this picture anymore. I don't know if I should have a ceremonial. And I thought Vanderbilt was one of those teams. They kind of put them on the bubble with Indiana, and but yeah, they had 21. They were 20-12. It's funny. I wondered if they would have a camera on Indiana, or you know what? They're probably all at the bar watching this, so like we don't want to see that. It has been a rough 8 years to be an Indiana fan. It just really has, and that's why I almost feel like exhausted from watching this team. Uh, Going into that Oregon game, I really had a lot of positivity. I was really thinking, and there were a lot of Indiana fans there, and it's like Tyler says, I sure hope you don't have to put up a pic of Brownell. Yeah, we have here. What are you guys saying? The teetotalers don't understand the threshold, probably because for the arrest is very low. Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff from a Texas site that Michael Kolak sent me, and I was just reading that this morning, and but I left my phone at the this place that is only open at like 5 o'clock, and I just did not want to stay in town after the Michigan State game on Friday. I had to get back to Fort Wayne, so and it was I really did. I was so mad, kind of after the next day after the Oregon game. I'm like, I just had nothing in me to make a video about about that. It was yeah. Rick, were you there in Louisville when that went down? I mean, stuff like that can definitely happen to anybody. I mean, it's just like he was lucky, kind of that that whole thing was caught on camera, and freaking police officer like attached himself to a car, and he's like just going slow. I grew up in a small town where the police did a lot of nefarious type things. Like it was it was not ever good. There was one that lived like down the street from me on Elm Street, and he would just have these poker night parties where a bunch of cops would be there, and it would just get like out of hand. And they're all driving home, but I know they've maybe cracked down on stuff like that. I hate to like rip on the police, but it's stuff like that that really, makes people not have confidence in what they do sometimes. Yeah, I saw a poll, and it was I think it was Sterling's poll, or I saw a few of them, and I saw one on the site with Locked On Hoosiers, and it's like 72 to about 80% of people are still really clamoring for Beard, you know? Thank you, Balin. God bless you all and go Hoosiers. Make IU basketball great again. That is great. Um, it's got to be coming. Even if we're not in the tournament today, we're in my mind, I'm like, I want them to be in the tournament, maybe, but also I want to know who the next coach is going to be. And it is like, I've heard a lot of people say that at the game that they're like, oh, people might stage like a flag burning or something crazy if Brownell gets hired, because you're pretty much saying to the fans, we don't really care about winning as much as we care about how things look to a certain group or a certain this. And tell you, down there, I talked to a lot of different media people, and there are, I'm not in the media, so I heard a lot of things about how Indiana does their media passes and how they are so sensitive to stories and stuff like that. And I thought, well, my gosh, they must really hate this podcast world of people, like the. All right, back on. We got Houston against SIU Edwardsville, which Indiana played. That SIU Edwardsville team probably not going to beat Houston, but McNeese makes it in. I was watching them last night. I'll tell you, I've watched so many basketball games in the last like 3 days. I can't even remember some of these teams I play. Purdue gets a 4 seed playing on Thursday. Purdue playing High Point. High Point is in and they are pumped. Good for them. Ooh, that might be a dangerous team for Purdue. We know how sometimes Purdue they all right, Illinois gets a 6 seed. And the sun just came out here. It has been so gloomy and rainy all day long. Texas and Xavier. So Texas I know they were kind of on the bubble there with Indiana, and I believe Xavier was too, but they got they're fighting for that 11 spot to play Illinois. Kentucky gets a 3 seed with a first year coach and Pope. Let's hope that's us next year with whatever coach we get. And I'll tell you the other team that's really, really great is Louisville with Pat Kelsey. UCLA gets a 7 seed, and that's where they belong. I can see UCLA losing this game. I'm probably going to pick Utah State in this just because it's a 7-10 split. Tennessee gets the other 2 seed. I like Tennessee. I love their coach. Rick Barnes just seems like the best guy to play for, in my opinion. He's got the experience. Dolson's going to blow this higher up. Yep. Jim, that's what I was thinking when I saw that. I thought, well, those teams are in, and it's not looking good for the Hoosiers here. Okay. Here's people that know this bracket stuff better than I do. South, Midwest, East, in order of difficulty. Okay, so it was like, I forget when that was, like 4 years ago. It was when Zion Williamson was playing. Wofford played a game against Duke, and they just spotted up and shot a lot of threes. It was a great game to watch, but so I'll be loving to see what Wofford. I believe that's in Wisconsin. These small schools, I mean, you're always looking for who is going to be the team that can knock somebody off, get into the Sweet 16, win that first couple of games. And they did a great piece on Greg Gumbel, and he was a great ambassador, especially for just the tournament and everything. And I mean, that's what I love about it the most. It's like you get you see one of these teams, how you can just catch lightning in the bottle. And basketball compared to football, I mean, is just so much more unpredictable in that way, where you got these upsets in this tournament. In football, it just rarely happens. I met this kid who's going to Notre Dame, and I don't know, I cannot remember his name. It's in my text messages, but this dude was huge. It was at the game. He was like 6'10", probably over 300 pounds. One of the largest humans I've ever seen at 17 years old. But I turn around, I'm like, hopefully you're going to Indiana next year. And he's like, points at his shirt and he's like, I'm going to Notre Dame. Like, I knew it. But left tackle. Well, I think they just have like one more section of this to go. Xavier, UNC, IU has twice as many quad one wins as those two. Yeah, that's kind of like where it's been the whole. Um, yeah, they are. That's like the whole weighing process of this. I don't know how much the committee really looks at. I mean, Indiana just not really showing any fight in that Oregon game. I don't know how much of that goes into their thinking process. Like um when you watch like the football ones, I mean, it's just a totally different sport. So it's like the football committee, when they're doing their rankings, it's just the eye test goes a lot into it. Even if you lose a game, who you play and who you lost to in the eye test. The eye test against Oregon was not good. I mean, so that would be my opinion on that. Was like, they kind of looked like with about 5-6 minutes left in that game that they just kind of threw in the towel and said, hey, it looks like we ain't gonna win this one. So how much of that goes into it? Gregory, I'm with you. It's like, I don't know if I can take it any longer sometimes. I'm like, I don't know if I can take another weekend of watching them having to play on whatever it's going to be, Tuesday or Wednesday in Dayton, and then watching them lay another egg in a disappointing loss, and then listening to what they're going to say. And the video I make tomorrow about Umar Bala's comments, because it's just this divisive nature of the players and the coach and just everything. You cannot have that stuff in your mind. You cannot have. All right, here we go. Florida and Norfolk State. UConn gets an 8 seed. That would be a really good second round game if Florida and UConn end up playing. But Oklahoma gets the 9 seed. Oklahoma really skyrocketed. I mean, I remember like a week or two ago, just people saying their record and everything, and I think they were the first 4 out. Indiana just had to you have to make a little bit of noise in that tournament, and they just went out with a whimper. They really did. Yeah, Colorado State, they were playing in the, game last night. I watched some of that. I gotta hand it to Memphis because I had a lot of doubts about Penny Hardaway and, his experience being just I think he coached in the NBA or as an assistant or something like that, and I don't know if he's adopting other styles or whatever, but I haven't watched a ton of them, but them to get in as a 5 seed, I mean, that's good for him. Maryland gets in as a 4 seed playing Grand Canyon. I will be rooting for or picking Grand Canyon in that game because not Bryce Drew. The Drew that hit the shot is the coach there at Grand Canyon and made some noise last year in the tournament. Missouri and Drake. That's gonna be one to watch because Tamar Bates is playing really well for Missouri. I don't know what he's probably averaging like 20 points for Missouri. So definitely, if you want to watch, I mean, I always liked him at Indiana. Thought he really had a great shot, and was sad to see him go. And Texas Tech gets a 3 seed. UNCW. How many does it? Am I the only person that thinks that like North Carolina has more side teams than like anywhere? There's like Coastal Carolina. There's this UNC Greensville, UNC Asheville. Like it just seems like there's like a million of these Coastal Carolina teams. Kansas and Arkansas on the 7-10. 14 teams from the SEC. Arkansas gets in as a 10. That's a great, I mean, first round matchup with Kansas, who's not very good this year, and Arkansas, who also is not very good this year. So that's going to be a fun game to watch. Bill Self go against Calipari. Omaha. All right. Peyton Manning's team is in. And let's see, Omaha's never been in the tournament, they said. Florida and Norfolk State. That'd be a good upset pick because I was impressed with Colorado and Colorado State and just how hard they played in that game last night. And tell you what, some of these guys that are making no NIL money, nothing at all. Nope, they don't. They don't get any slack in this thing. They don't just let you in just because you're Indiana, and I guess that's it. Yeah, Clark Kellogg, he just picked, Drake to go over Missouri there. I agree that's gonna be a great game. Missouri's a team I always forget is, like, in the SEC, and so the SEC gets 14 teams in, the Big 10 gets 8 teams, the Big 12 gets 7 teams. The Big 12 was solid this year. I would say I watched a lot more Big 12 this year. Houston and, Iowa State. There we go. West Virginia, Indiana just ends up 2 spots out. Ohio State behind them. See, you don't get that much credit beating Ohio State because then Ohio State ended up losing in their first game. So the Ohio State game, so I got to say, I was wrong. I said I thought Indiana was in. And at that time, I mean, I'm not into all this bracketology stuff. I thought Indiana's in. They got this win, but you can't go and lay an egg at Oregon. Other teams win their games and then you're out. You're screwed. So Indiana is not in. Well, Mike Woodson here has officially coached his last game at Indiana. I will maybe put this in a ceremonial video where we no, we're not gonna raise this into the rafters of the building, but oh my gosh. Gotta find something to put in that spot though. There, that can take its spot for now. But well, there you have it. I mean, it's about what I expected. And I'll tell you, Galen Clavio, he does that. He had Indiana out, I think he had them as the second team out. So it's bye Woody, Dane Fife, we love you. Seriously, you're a winner. IU laid an egg. Yeah, they did. And we suck again. Trenjamin Button, dude, we suck. Of course we didn't make it. I know. It's I can't tell you that I'm that disappointed. And I'll tell you what, most of these guys they should just don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out because yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that UNC, and I didn't watch them at all this year. I heard a lot of people clamoring about how awful they were and how they want to fire their coach too. And but I mean, I guess they did enough to get in. They were in a weak conference, but Indiana let a lot of close games get away, and they didn't get 20 wins. 19-13 is just not a good record. And when you show up, here's what I think, and just in my mind, it's like all the neutral site games they had, they go to that tournament, get blown out by Gonzaga. Every time they had to play somebody who was going to be, every time they were going to play somebody who was going to be a tournament team or a top 25 team, they got completely blown out. I'll tell you what I think really, really hurt them is Iowa was really, really terrible. Iowa was really, really terrible. They get blown out at Iowa. Nebraska ended up not even making the Big Ten tournament. And you play with Nebraska for like 30 minutes. In the last 10 minutes of the game, you get completely shellacked by Nebraska. And those type of losses, if they would have won the Iowa game, that's a road win. And then those are two what should have been easy games for this team and the $5 million that they had. So it's like, when I look at that, I mean, it just really pisses me off that those teams were not good teams. And you just got handled by those teams. Nebraska just out rebounded us, outplayed us in the last 9 minutes of that game. And then the Iowa game, you just go out there and just completely get blown out off the court right from the very beginning. Like Balo gets double teamed and all this stuff. And so it is what it is. I mean, it's Arkansas and Texas are 6-12 in the conference. Yep. I don't get it. I mean, I didn't watch those teams all year. I know Arkansas looked really bad. I think they started out 0-5 in the conference, or 0-6. And but hey, thank you so much. Yep, I try to keep it real. I try to keep it real on here, but thank you so much for joining me on this episode. If you haven't not yet, hit that subscribe button down below. I am going to do on Thursday, and I may do it on Thursday and Friday. I'm just going to live stream from like 12 noon until 12 midnight and watch all the games and order pizzas. And I'm going to try to get some segments set up with Hillbilly Monkey so he can give his takes on what teams he wants in, and we can go over the brackets and everything like that and talk about the teams. Because look, we're Hoosiers. We love basketball. I've watched more basketball this week than I think is humanly possible for your. And I still don't know my Final Four team right now. Because I mean, Florida is probably the team I'm going to have winning it, just because I think Florida is just really, really good. It's really hard to pick against Auburn because of how hard they play. Like, I don't know. I don't know if Auburn's like a team that's going to go all the way to the Final Four. I kind of got to look at like how that's going to line up for them. Um, but we'll see. I mean, I just got to kind of like take a look at this bracket and see what teams I really like. I mean, Houston is a team that like just, to me, always plays so connected on defense that they're never going to be out of any game. Their biggest problem, I think, why Houston doesn't like get to the final and win it is because they don't have like that always that elite offensive force they're gonna be able to get the score up into the. I like Duke and Cooper Flag. I mean, hopefully he's back from that ankle injury. We'll see what that is. What that's like this week, but they're gonna be a ton of storylines come out between now and Thursday about this. And this is one of my favorite weeks of all time. The Big Ten tournament was great to have it in Indianapolis. If you were there and we talked, thank you so much for watching the show and saying what's up. Met a lot of people at the game and everything like that. And it was a great time. And yeah, just having it in Indianapolis where it's like the center of the basketball world. It's always a great thing. So, but thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. Until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.